All right, so welcome everybody to the CineFiles Extended Cut. This is the show where we break down the biggest stories of the week as covered by WatchMojo's The CineFiles, the original CineFiles, as well as some other stories that didn't quite make the cut. So if you guys like this, make sure to subscribe to MojoTalks for more. I'm your host, Matt Campbell, and this is my panel. I got Justin here, I got Phoebe, and I got Liam at the end of the table.
Oh boy, again.
2 weeks in a row. I'm
Liam's
sorry.
here. I didn't even see you there.
I just walk in,
Hey, man.
and then
You didn't
sit
see
down.
him with that loud sweater.
It's very loud.
Yeah, very
Wear your
loud sweater.
earmuffs.
Yeah. So guys, welcome. Thanks for being here. Let's start off with, like we always do, what you watching. I'm curious as to what you guys have been seeing on the big screen or the TV, you know, pop a Blu-ray and DVD, whatever it is. Let's start with you, Justin. What have you seen lately?
Decided in the spirit of the Force Awakens. No, not the Force Awakens. The Last Jedi.
Yes.
Releasing on VOD and Blu-ray. I decided now's as good a time as any to check it out again. I hadn't seen it since opening night. And, you know, when I saw the movie in theaters, I kind of just loved it. I thought it was incredible. And when I left the theaters, I didn't realize how strong the reaction against The Last Jedi would end up being. So I kind of rewatched this with all those criticisms in mind, like looking out for all the major complaints that people had, that I was like, maybe I just didn't know.
And you changed your mind.
No, absolutely not. I still think this is like a really excellent Star Wars movie and a really good Rian Johnson movie. Like, to me, the things that people complained about, like the Canto Bight, Casino Planet stuff, still not the greatest. But I don't think the one thing that I totally disagree with is the people who have a problem with Luke's character.
That's my biggest issue too.
I thought the way they handled it was completely unexpected and excellent. And
Yeah.
totally original.
Yeah.
So it's definitely worth a rewatch. I highly recommend checking out it again if
Nice.
you have the time.
I think a lot of the criticisms people have are definitely valid. That being said, I love that movie.
I mean, I guess they're valid. I just don't agree with them. Like the whole idea of Luke, like, oh, you know, he's a Jedi. He can't have any character faults. He's like a perfect example. It's like, are you kidding me? Like,
I feel like it was more that he did like such a 360, you know? Like I feel like from other movies, like he was just so like bitter and angry. Like I really liked the movie too, and I had the same experience as you did, that like when I saw it for the first time, I absolutely loved it. And then when I went online and saw how much everyone was dragging it, like we even did a video and it was like top 3 legitimate gripes.
legitimate gripes.
Legitimate gripes. And
check it
I
out.
was like, I didn't see that until after, but I mean, it was still a good movie. But I mean, I see what they mean about Luke's character. He was just like very different, like extremely different.
There is for sure, especially Disney in 2018. Or I guess it came out in 2017, but there's definitely like things that need to be there in a Disney movie. I think like the suits are putting in there, like the casino, all the casino stuff was so like they're riding the dog creatures. I was like, this is like, this is like kind of silly. And like, I think it definitely has to be there because like they're trying to cater to an audience that isn't just fanboys and they're, I don't know.
My theory on that is that they had, like, Rian Johnson had a really strong, like, A plot with Rey and Kylo and Luke. Like, all that sort of stuff is super strong. And then he was like, oh, crap, I forgot about Finn.
I have all these other characters.
He goes to a planet with horses. Yeah, whatever. We'll just cut back and forth. Yeah.
Everybody loves horses.
There is like one of the best cameos in cinematic history of all time in there. I'm not going to spoil it for you guys, but
one of the best.
Yeah.
The Code Breaker.
The Code Breaker, yeah.
Don't spoil it.
Yeah. Phoebe, what have you been watching?
I watched another Netflix movie this week.
Oh, you're all about the Netflix,
I don't know.
You don't like leaving home,
no,
comfy seats at the theater?
Stay home. I like to cuddle up in a blanket and watch Netflix movies.
Can't complain with that.
Last week I had a good experience with a Netflix movie. This week I did not.
Oh, no.
I watched The Outsider, not The Outsiders with Rob Lowe, which is a great film.
And
The Outsider with Jared Leto.
The singular outsider.
Yeah, the singular outsider.
The prequel or
It's the prequel to The Outsiders.
Yeah.
So anyway, this film takes place in a post-war Japan era, and essentially it's about this like soldier who's been taken captive and he's in a prison and somehow ends up in the Yakuza. And I love films about like crime syndicates. I thought that was like what appealed to me in the first place. And man, this was just such a miss. Like, Jared Leto barely talks in the movie. He has like probably like 10 lines, and I feel like his character never develops, so you never get any attachment to him whatsoever.
Okay.
I think that was like a huge fail for me. But yeah, disappointed. Very
Sounds
disappointed
like
with this.
Only God Forgives.
I was gonna say the same
they're trying
thing.
to take some cues from Nicholas Winding Refn with the not talking
Yeah,
thing.
I was gonna
Yeah,
ask,
that's
like,
weird.
was his performance at least good in like Ryan Gosling not talking much in Only God Forgives?
I mean, I guess like it's Jared Leto. Like, I feel like another appeal for this movie is that Jared Leto is like an Academy-winning,
Right.
Academy Award-winning actor,
yeah.
and it just, I don't know, it wasn't showcased. You know, I feel
Yeah.
like I really like Jared Leto. He's a good actor, and it was just like, meh.
I don't know if he's
Yeah.
had really that great of a career after his Oscar. What has he been in?
30
Squad?
Seconds to Mars.
That was an amazing film.
Great performance in that.
Oscar award-winning Suicide Squad.
Yeah, it won an Oscar.
It's true.
Yeah,
It's
I mean,
true. And he
I don't
was
know. I don't know if
makeup.
his makeup was the
The
reason. I don't know
crown
if it was
jewel
him.
of the DCEU.
It's
crown
that Oscar.
jewel.
It's basically voters just going like, "Oh, Margot Robbie, yeah, she was lots of hair and makeup."
She had lots of hair.
Yeah,
She had
they're like,
long
"What about
hair,
the
yeah.
other character?" Who, yeah, but she was phenomenal.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Jared Leto's silly tattoos.
yeah, those are.
I'm not gonna
weird.
lie, I'm kind of like a sucker for the damaged on the forehead. I know that's like
Really?
what a lot of people think are the lamest, but I was like,
Are you gonna get
That's
one?
kind of right up your alley.
When I
though.
saw
You
that,
really
maybe
like
not forehead, but you know, like on the arm here or something.
Yeah.
No,
It's
never.
had
Can you
it,
imagine?
baby?
Can you imagine Heath Ledger's Joker like sitting down for an hour and a half to get some tattoos? Like, no, that would never happen.
I thought you were gonna say, imagine Heath Ledger's Joker sitting down for an interview with Jared Leto's.
Why would
Joker.
you-
Oh my god!
Imagine that.
He'd just show up with a bag full of like used condoms, like throwing them at everyone. The sicko.
like, here's a
You didn't hear
fish.
about that story, Jared Leto?
Oh yeah. On set, right?
Not,
He did a lot
like
of messed
that.
up stuff.
He did a lot
eh?
of messed up stuff. He mailed used condoms to all his co-stars, and they're just like,
freak.
"What
That's
is
like
this?"
not getting into character. That is being abusive
Yeah,
to your
it's-
co-stars.
yeah.
Like,
That's-
it's not okay.
That's
like,
assault.
Acting.
But you know, his music career is so good, so
Yeah.
we can
Yeah.
all forgive it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's mosey on away from bodily fluids. Liam, what have you been watching?
I did not stay home. I went to my local theater.
Oh,
By yourself.
nice. With
There was a
friends? Lots of friends,
No,
or
I went solo.
Han Solo?
I went Han Solo.
Han Solo.
Yeah, there was a little movie playing in 70mm. I went. I was like, I'm a cinephile.
Dunkirk?
I'm
Dunkirk's
a cinephile,
back.
so I better go check out this new 70mm movie. And it was Ready Player One.
Man, that
Which
shocks
is-
me.
Yeah, it's very strange.
That does not seem like a movie that's like marketed. Hey, Ready Player One is playing in 70
Yeah,
millimeter.
all you
once in a
cinephiles
lifetime
get out to your
opportunity.
theater.
You're
It's-
like,
yeah.
I have to go.
I didn't know it
surprised.
was. I didn't know it was in that format until I
Yeah.
got to the theater. I thought I would be paying regular admission, but it turns out it was
Oh, that's true.
$17 for my ticket.
Whoa.
Yeah, Ready Player One is the most ridiculous movie I've ever seen. It is.
How many Easter eggs did you count?
I
in the-
counted. I ran out of fingers on my hand.
Of course.
Yeah, it is. I mean, if you don't know, it's basically just every pop culture reference put into one movie. This
Right.
like virtual reality type world called the Oasis, where
Mm-hmm.
this kid is trying to basically take over this legacy that this game developer has created. He hid a bunch of clues in this world. He has to find 3 keys to basically take over this Oasis world. But there's just like so many pop culture references, like
yeah.
crammed down your throat. It's crazy.
Yeah, and I feel I will eventually see this movie, but like when I first saw the trailer, I had like no immediate interest in seeing.
See,
this.
I
was just yeah,
because of Spielberg.
yeah, that's
I'm
it. Like
such a-
he's great, but it just seemed like it was literally a movie that just hinged upon Easter eggs and like throwbacks to older movies. And I was just like, where's the originality?
I
in
gotta
this?
say,
It's like-
move over Saving Private Ryan, because this is the most realistic depiction of war.
Well,
I've
I mean,
ever
it was
seen
shot
in my
on
life.
70 millimeters,
Yeah,
so
of
I
course.
mean,
Chucky jumping onto a DeLorean is like the most
That's too much for me. I can't.
gritty,
Like,
realistic
the-
thing I've ever seen in a movie.
Of
The
all,
doll Chucky?
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course.
What other Chucky?
the main
Chucky from
character. I don't
Rugrats?
know their
Chuck E.
names.
Cheese.
Yeah.
Could have been
Wow.
Chuck E. Cheese.
Okay.
Charles Cheese. The one thing that really stood out to me, like of all the movie controversies in the last few years, the most hilarious one to me I found was in the trailer. There was like a shot of the Iron Giant
Yeah.
about to go into war, and people were like, "Hey, in the Iron Giant, that movie's all about how he wouldn't be used as a weapon. I guess now he's like totally fine with being, and people were like,
yeah, he's like a
genuinely-
big part of the movie too, and he's
Damn.
like him being a giant tool for war is like. Big.
Oh,
Sorry,
fun.
I don't want
Like,
to get into spoilers.
I appreciate
huge
people
spoiler.
coming to bat for the integrity of the Iron Giant, but it's just funny to me. Like there was the same amount of outrage. It's just like whitewashing in Hollywood. The Iron Giant being. It's just
There's like a moment with him that I think is like perfect, and I actually laughed pretty hard in the theater.
By yourself.
One of the by myself. One of the few times I laughed during this movie. I don't want to spoil it in case anybody. I don't know about you guys. I don't know if you guys want to see it.
I'll probably check it out eventually.
Yeah, there's a basically like 10-minute homage to a prior movie that is known as a classic of the genre. And I thought it was cool, but also like I don't know if it was because I knew the movie. I don't want to like. I'm kind of beating around the bush here, but like.
it's Back to the Future, isn't it?
No, it's not.
I know what it is. I think,
Yeah, you know
I
what
think
it
you
is.
told me this morning.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was like I would just rather watch that movie. You know, it's like
Yeah.
I feel like
this
it's
isn't doing
banking on
anything
the
new.
success of like old movies, you know, and like I
Yeah.
heard because WatchMojo did a review of this film, and you should check it out. It's really interesting.
Check it out.
But they basically said that it's a cool blockbuster. It's fun to watch, and if you have that sort of, if you suffer from the nostalgia for the 80s,
Yeah.
then you should check it out. But I feel like it would be distracting to be like constantly searching the screen for Easter eggs to, you know,
Totally.
at a
like,
point I gave
Yeah.
up. I was like, this is too much for me.
or
Yeah.
like not even searching for them, they're just appearing, you know what I mean? Like, and I feel like that would just, it takes away the fun of like going and immersing yourself into this world, because
Right.
you're just, you know what, I don't know, it's
Yeah.
frustrating.
I gotta
It's
say,
really
like,
frustrating.
The screenplay I think was like the worst part of this movie, which was written by the guy who wrote the book, I think, and like I just thought it was so cheesy. There's literally a scene in the movie where like they're at a nightclub and like the characters just pull out these like levitating dance floors and they start dancing to Staying Alive by the Bee Gees,
That's amazing.
and it's
That
like
sounds
one of the most
fun.
cringeworthy scenes I've ever seen.
Dang.
Yeah,
I don't like. I can't deal with cringe so
Yeah.
well. I mean, I can, but it's it's cringy.
That being
That's
said,
a no from
I
him,
get you.
right?
that being said, it's the best movie I've ever seen.
Yeah,
A+.
sounds like it. Yeah.
What did you
A+.
watch?
Damn. What did I watch? I watched. I actually recently bought the Blu-ray of.
You buy
I
Blu-rays?
buy Blu-rays. I'm a collector.
Just pop
Fun
in
fact. I own over 150 Blu-rays.
Do you want a medal or something?
Do you have a Blu-ray player?
I don't need
it's actually a steel book, Liam.
Yeah, yeah. I have plenty of those steel
Yeah.
books. Okay, but yeah, I bought a Blu-ray, Lady Bird. So I
Oh.
revisited that. It was just as good as it
cry?
was the first time. You get a little misty-eyed watching that for
I
sure.
got it.
I
Yeah.
still haven't seen it yet.
Oh my god,
boy.
it was my favorite movie of last year. And
Sorry, I
recently,
shouldn't say oh boy. I should say oh girl, because it's about a
that's
girl.
right. Yeah. And I also recently listened to a podcast where A24 podcast actually, where Barry Jenkins and Greta Gerwig talk about the movie. So it was cool to like get like the inside scoop, like behind the scenes kind of talk about that. So it was pretty cool.
Sounds cool.
Cool. So that was What You Watching, but now we're going to get into the top 3 stories of the week. This is what you guys are all here for. It's the big news. We're going to get to that next. Okay, so we're back, and we're going to talk about the 3 big stories to make the OG Cinephiles this week. We're going to start with a little superhero action, because X-Men, New Mutants, and Dark Phoenix, their theatrical release dates have been they've been pushed back, with the former, New Mutants, being pushed back quite a bit. So looking at the dates here, Dark Phoenix, not too bad. It's only being delayed a couple of months from November to February. And New Mutants from February 2019 all the way to August 2nd, 2019. So that's like almost a year.
It's crazy that we already have a trailer.
That's it.
I remember like the trailer came out.
Yeah.
Wasn't the movie supposed to come out like in a few months or like?
I think it's changed release dates like a couple of times,
Yeah.
and this is like the most recent one.
It was scheduled originally to be released this year, got
Yeah.
pushed to next year, and now it's been pushed even further into next year.
Yeah.
I can't help but think that part of this is because of the Fox Disney deal and the rights
right.
of the X-Men
Right.
supposedly coming back to Marvel Studios, and
Yeah.
their, what are their intentions with the X-Men franchise?
Okay.
I think there were Fox or I should say, whoever's producing these movies is a little less eager to get these out, just because with a movie like New Mutants, it feels like a lateral kind of let's branch out this franchise move.
Yeah, it's completely different.
It's also
like a horror
let's
movie.
bring this into the genre territory, because
Exactly.
they say they wanted to make it more scarier.
Yeah, well, the trailer was, which I'm surprised there's a trailer for a movie that comes out in August of 2019.
But that trailer looked pretty spooky, and they're gonna make it more spooky.
It's gonna be super spook.
Well, one of the big reasons too they're saying that it's being delayed so much, New Mutants is because they're actually introducing like a completely like brand new character, and they're writing him into the story, him or her, we're not sure, but that obviously is going to set things back. So I mean, with that said, Dark Phoenix, also one of the reasons is just because it's like such a big A-list cast, they're having trouble getting everyone together at the same time. And they also had like screenings for some audiences, and they're like, oh, this didn't quite work, that didn't quite work, so they're going to do some reshoots. So with all this being said, like, is this cause for concern for fans of X-Men, for Fox? What are we thinking here?
Yes, I think well, depends on how you look at it. If you're a fan of the X-Men franchise as a whole, and you just care about seeing those characters on screen, ultimately you're going to get that. Whether it be the Fassbender and Jennifer Lawrence cast, or whatever the cast may be in the future when we finally get an X-Men MCU movie.
You were gonna say they were gonna go back to Patrick Stewart.
No, they're
done for stuff.
I would assume so.
Ultimately, I feel like Apocalypse, the previous X-Men movie, wasn't great. I don't think fan excitement is all that high for Dark Phoenix.
But the Dark Phoenix is like a huge comic book.
Probably one of the biggest X-Men storylines in the comics. Chris Claremont wrote it. He's one of the most legendary X-Men writers of all time. Probably invented the X-Men that everyone knows and loves today. Though he didn't create the characters, he did introduce many to the universe. It's probably his most historically cited story, and they tried to adapt it once in The Last Stand. Very poorly.
Yeah.
And this movie,
not good.
The writers were basically saying, we're going to try and stick closer to the source material, which involves aliens and the destruction of universes.
Good thing?
Are they purple-faced or blue-faced aliens?
No, they just
What's that a reference to?
It was just like, seems like that's all the villains.
Oh.
You know,
in the Marvel comics, it's like, this is a
Guardians
person,
of the Galaxy, everyone's got blue and purple faces. What's the deal?
What's the deal with... Yeah, it's... I
do more Seinfeld impressions, please.
Yeah, no problem.
That's TV. Get that out of here.
Coming up. Hey, B movie is a movie.
It's a movie.
I think there's cause for concern if you're like banking on Dark Phoenix being great. But if you're an X-Men fan, I think there's like, the horizon looks quite bright.
Do you think that X-Men fans care that Jessica Chastain has been cast in this? Because that's like,
why would they care? She's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's like, obviously she's a huge star, but like, do you think that's enough to like excite X-Men fans, or they're just like, oh, we just want like a good story, we want this movie to be good? Do you think they necessarily care about like
Did they announce
big
who she's
A-listers? I think she's playing Dark Phoenix, isn't she?
No, it's gonna be who was in the last movie, Sophie Turner.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Jean Grey, Dark Phoenix.
She's
the person that they think Jessica Chastain is playing is a character from the Shi'ar Empire, which is a race of aliens who Dark Phoenix in the comics is hungry, decides to eat a son, in the process kills billions of lives, and the Shi'ar Empire is like, yo, you can't do that though. Like, they're people. You can't do that. So they come after her. And the X-Men are like, hey, that's
God bless Jessica, man. God bless.
Yeah, if you want the best version of the story, obviously just read the Chris Claremont comic book. It's still available in trade paperback. It's a great story.
Yeah, but then I have to read a book.
You got to read a book. There are pictures, though.
Is there an audio version of this?
No, it's a comic book.
Audio version where it's just a guy just explaining the pictures.
Showing here it is.
Yeah. as an X-Men fan, I'm not that stoked for either one of these.
Interesting.
New Mutants, I think, could be good if it hadn't gone through so many reshoots.
They're trying to make it like Logan, is what they said. They're trying to make it like a standalone film, and I think that that's why they're trying to make it like more dark and more scary, which is what I read.
I'm in for that. Yeah.
I liked Logan, so I mean,
So
if
did I.
they can sort
Yeah.
of replicate that vibe, then I would be interested to see
absolutely.
it in like 8 years.
That's
when it comes
interesting
out.
because the more I think about it, like watching the trailer, it's true. It's just kids locked up in this lab. They're doing tests on them and stuff, and similar to Logan, yeah.
Well, it
And-
seems
Didn't think
like
of that.
True. That's a good
Yeah.
point.
Sorry. It seems like they want these like standalone, like, I don't know if it's gonna be R-rated, but like, especially with Deadpool, it's like when Deadpool came out, it was such a success.
Nice. Well done.
Yeah,
You
thank
got through it. Yeah.
they like rushed Logan out. They were like, oh, people want more like of this like.
Yeah, they cited Deadpool and Logan as being like these more standalones
Yeah.
in the universe, and they wanted to replicate that.
Great examples to use. They made a bunch of money. Yeah, they should be like this. Yeah.
Yeah, makes
That's-
sense.
I mean, and especially like if they're gonna do to New Mutants what they did with like Deadpool the comedy and
Logan to the Western, I
to,
guess?
like I guess the Western
Yeah.
or like
Yeah. That was a
I
neat
think it's
drama.
fair to say, yeah.
Yeah.
then like all for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, these reshoots
Worth
are,
noting, the New Mutants are not historically. It's not a horror comic. They're just another X-Men team. But you know,
Make
take
it
chances.
scary.
I'm
Make
very
it scary.
curious. Make
Yeah.
it scary,
Is
and
it
I'll check.
Anya
it out.
Taylor-Joy in this?
She is.
She
yeah.
is.
Becoming
yeah.
a bit of a scream queen, eh?
A little
the
bit.
witch
Yeah.
and-
I think she has more range than that, but it's true. She's
Maybe it's just
Even
and
Thoroughbreds
Split.
wasn't horror, but
Split.
it
The,
was
the
Exactly.
sequel to Split as well.
yeah.
Which is coming
Yes.
out to a
Yeah.
theater near
With-
you.
Yeah, she's
Mr.
just
Bruce
killing
Willis.
it lately.
Yeah.
But I'm excited for the direction for New Mutants. I love horror movies, and it's just how many X-Men movies have there been now?
I don't even know the answer.
20.
Exactly.
million?
Let's say like 79 X-Men movies.
800,000.
800,000. And then this one's like completely new, different. They're trying to tackle this horror genre. So hopefully they nail it. But
I don't think they'll
I'm
ever
pretty
stop.
excited.
I think it's just gonna be rebooted over
Yeah,
and
it's
over
gonna
and
be
over
rebooted
again.
into
just
the
like the
MCU.
Avengers. When this
I think
phase 20 is over, they'll
yeah.
reboot
Yeah.
with a new cast.
I think we can say we're in for New Mutants.
Whoa, speak for yourself, man.
Out.
I don't know about me.
In
Well,
for
hear
New
the man
Mutants, out for Dark Phoenix. I think seems to be the consensus.
yeah,
Okay.
I think that's fair.
No,
for
you're still in for Dark Phoenix.
I mean, don't speak my
Yeah,
truth.
I'm just saying.
Oh, Justin.
I'm
I'm
just saying.
excited.
I'm like-
it's like this, the cast
Yeah.
is stacked. It looks sick.
I'm like halfway in. Like I'll go to the theater for like an hour and then leave.
Okay, yeah.
That's
We'll still get
how
your
much
money.
I-
Don't do that.
By
I hate
yourself?
people that do that.
Are you gonna go
By
by
yourself.
I'll
yourself?
go by myself
No,
again.
oh,
Yeah.
poor
But I just
guy.
stand in the on the staircase and just watch from there.
That's a fire hazard, man.
You're putting everyone in risk.
Yeah.
I live dangerously, you know.
Yeah. All right. Well, we were talking about reboots, remakes, that kind of jazz previously. So this next entry is kind of like that. It's kind of funny. At least I think it's funny. It's a strange one. But you guys have probably heard about it previously. Robert Downey Jr. He's going to be Dr. Dolittle.
Ooh.
Yeah. So he's going to be womp womp. That's how I feel too. I don't really get it, especially for Robert Downey Jr., who's kind of like this cool guy actor. Anyways, so he's going to be in that movie. And recently he announced the rest of the cast. And this cast is actually like super, super stacked. So he first posted the picture on Twitter. And there's Emma Thompson, Ralph Fiennes, Octavia Spencer, Kumail Nanjiani, Tom Holland's in it, Selena Gomez is in it, and like there's still
John Cena.
John Cena's in it.
That's what I'm most excited.
How do you know?
John Cena.
He's
You
on
can't-
it
you
It
can't
said.
see- can't
But his
see
name was
Oh,
said
you can
John
see his
Cena. I
name.
could see
He
his
was
name.
he was on the picture, so yeah, Liam did see him.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of people in this, and I'm kind of like, I don't want to say I'm excited because I'm not excited, but like that's a really impressive cast.
I think Phoebe's got a hot take.
I
here.
have
Yeah.
some hot takes, so let me just take the reins on this one.
Oh,
First
boy.
of all, Robert Downey Jr. is like, I'm done with Iron Man, and then he's like, I'm gonna be Dr. Dolittle. Like,
Yeah.
what are you even doing?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Why do they keep rebooting this franchise or this film or whatever? It's bothering me so
Franchise.
much.
Yeah.
Second of all, who cares that there are
Oh.
so many big name A-list actors doing voice acting?
Right.
Why? They could literally cut the cost of making this movie by a quarter or like by half
Probably have.
if they stopped asking all of these random people who are not trained in voice acting, who are just
True.
super, super famous, amazing actors. I'm not saying that they're no
Yeah.
good. I'm saying that it's so much more effective in animated films to have people who are, their job is to do voice animation for
Yeah.
animated
Yeah.
characters. So like, for example, I was talking about this morning. with Liam, like an animation studio that I really like is Laika. So they did
They're
The Box
awesome.
Trolls, which is my favorite movie of all time. And they also did Kubo and the Two Strings. And I was really looking forward to seeing that because I love Box Trolls so much. And when I saw it, I was just so disappointed because it's a story about, you know, like Asian culture. And Charlize Theron was in it. Rooney Mara was in it. Matthew McConaughey. And I was like, why get people who know the culture, they know the story, and they have the talent for that specific type of acting, because it's different, and that's why I'm not in for
I've
this.
I've never gone to see like an animated movie and like had the like A-list actors voicing the characters augment the movie for me.
Oh, that's
you know what I mean?
interesting.
It's like I never go to like I don't go to see like I'm trying to think of like an animated movie.
A good example,
Despicable Me.
A few years
and
ago,
Steve Carell is like
there was The Jungle Book a couple years ago.
Yes.
And there was a few choices in that movie.
I just want to point out for the listeners that are just listening and not watching, Phoebe is shaking her head
Not a-
furiously
not a Jungle
as
Book head?
Justin's talking.
I just love what's his name? Idris Elba as that was an incredible vocal performance. And like I think there are people that are capable of pulling off both, but I do tend to agree with you, Phoebe, that there are certainly like your John DiMaggios of the world who are just like you know, voice acting like second comings. Like they're just incredible voice actors. Those guys can do characters and can create like different voices versus when an A-list actor comes on, they're just doing their voice, and like it's novel because you're like, hey, I know that. That sounds
like, familiar. I definitely think there are exceptions. Like I think Robin Williams as the genie like gave a lot into that. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say like I was not insinuating
Phoebe,
at all
are you
that like
saying that Robin Williams
that Robin Williams was amazing in that role. And I'm not saying that like actors cannot be voice actors. I'm saying that getting big actors like that for the purposes of attracting an audience to a film, it's just it cheapens the
and
film
you can
for
tell
me.
when they're doing it. Like I mean, like the Lion King. The Lion King casting was like notoriously like ridiculous with like Beyonce and stuff like that, and I'm like, come on, man! Like Beyonce hasn't voice acted before.
And to come back to the Lion King, terrible. Like
Idris
Elba was amazing in it.
Jungle Book.
Yeah. What am I talking about? The Lion King. Sorry, The Jungle Book. Yeah, Idris Elba was amazing.
Yeah,
but then great. By the other token, we had Scarlett Johansson.
Very good.
And that annoyed me so much.
Christopher Walken was great.
She was just going like, hey, I'm Scarlett Johansson. Like, and it bothered me so much.
Scarlett Johansson is a snake. She's a snake, right?
Yeah.
She's a snake.
Yeah. But I mean, I totally agree with like a lot of those points. But it is like no, does anyone care about Dr. Dolittle? That's why you need those. Obviously, like you touched upon this before. That's why they need those names. Yeah. Otherwise, like what's the draw? A middle-aged man talking to animals, like.
So, it's not
so cool.
I don't think it's just that people care about Dr. Dolittle. I think that you just have to have like a name that people recognize when you're making.
But then make that Robert Downey Jr. Like
and then,
no, I'm saying like the name of the movie, like
Dr. Downey Jr.
A few years, like the Baywatch movie that just came out, right? Like, does anyone really want a Baywatch movie? But it's the fact that like there's a huge population of people that they'll be like, hey, I've heard of Baywatch. I'm going to go see this movie, versus they look at what else is playing in the theater and they're like, I've never heard of any of this stuff.
I guess.
Yeah. So they're really attracting, like, people that care about the new releases and stuff like that aren't impressed when it's like, Dr. Dolittle, who cares? But there is like a big swath of people that are just like, hey, I remember that.
But then I see like a name like Kumail Nanjiani and I'm like, what are you doing, man? Like, you could devote your time so much better.
Make another movie.
Make another like.
Let's be. They probably have super big paychecks.
Yeah,
obviously. So I mean,
I guess
Kumail is probably like, I don't know if I want to do.
Fair.
Oh
It's
wow, look at those
trash.
zeros.
Maybe trash like
they're living their best life.
Kumail.
Yeah, that's and like okay. I guess this leads to like another question is like. This was done in 1967. It was done in 1998.
They filmed it in 1967, and that's coming
exactly.
Out now?
Yeah,
it's like Boyhood. They've been shooting it once a year since 1967.
But yeah, there was a version 1967, 1998, obviously the famous one, or the one most of us are acquainted with. And there was a sequel, with Eddie Murphy. And now there's this one. Is Dr. Dolittle is it timeless enough of a classic to be like continuously rebooted?
Like fans of it that they'd be like,
here's the short answer. Definitely not.
Definitely not. I would say so. Does
Definitely
anyone
not.
disagree?
I agree.
I'm all there.
I'll
You're all
see it.
there
I'll
at the
still see
theater?
it. I'll still see it. But I was very disappointed with the casting because I feel like they should give the opportunity to people who are not A-list actors but who are incredibly talented. Because there are lots of people out there who are very talented.
I think it's weird that like all the big voice actors are so limited to TV. Like, you know what I mean? Like all those like the ones that do like all like the Nickelodeon cartoons are like amazing, and like when do they branch out into movies?
It's
you know,
probably because they're just like it's like a safety thing. They're just like locked into contracts. It's like
I guess
There's a great documentary for those who are interested in voice acting called "I Know That Voice," where they basically talk
Oh.
about
That's a
all,
great
they
title.
talk to
Yeah.
all the people who have like made like cut their teeth in animation and television animation for years. John DiMaggio being one of them. It's a great documentary for people who are interested in that, and it's super interesting.
I'm not.
Oh, okay. Don't watch.
I'm kidding.
And
That sounds interesting.
Kumail, if you're listening, get that money, dog.
Yeah.
Get that money.
He's
love you,
living his
Kumail.
best life, and I'm proud of him.
Me too.
It's got nothing to do with them. I have love for everybody who's on that cast list.
I see your point. I totally see your point. Okay, so there's a little bit of controversy in this little discussion. There's more in this next entry, which was number 1 on the CineFiles first show, if you will. Steven Spielberg again is in the news, and he's taken a big swing at Netflix. Everyone's favorite, Phoebe, your favorite, Netflix.
Yeah.
He took a
Liz
swing
agrees.
at it. So basically, what Spielberg said is, in an interview with ITV News, said Netflix movies should not be considered for Oscars for the Academy Awards.
That was on the topic of Cannes, wasn't it? Cannes banning Netflix movies, I think.
There was
I know
definitely a
there's been
discussion about
discussion
that.
about that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's definitely like a hot button topic in the film industry right now.
Yeah.
He's not the first director to slam Netflix. Christopher Nolan did it like a few months ago, or maybe last year. He called it like mindless and pointless, which is pretty.
man.
Whoa.
Yeah, but I mean, like, does anyone agree with Steven Spielberg?
If Steven Spielberg is saying this on the press tour for Ready Player One, like the most ridiculous like stain on cinema.
Whoa! What? You just said it was your favorite movie like 20 minutes ago. And it was on 70 millimeter.
You shouldn't be able to talk about like the state of cinema if you're making Ready Player One.
He's also making.
But he's
indie
also
that is
Steven
5,
Spielberg.
Like,
I listen. I love Steven Spielberg like
Same.
to no end. I like E.T. is one of my favorite movies of all time. But it just seems a little ridiculous that like something that is like they perfected delivering movies to like an audience, you know, like Netflix just like was so smart and like they found a way to make a model around this idea that like people don't have to leave their house to watch a movie, and like
Which I appreciate.
It just
Thank you
seems,
very much.
Yeah, it just seems like it's just like such a good thing for movies.
To
I don't
play-
know. To me,
to play devil's advocate.
Well, I was gonna say the same thing, but please go ahead. Yeah.
Same thing.
No, I was gonna say I'm
Which,
gonna play
by the
devil's
way,
advocate
that's
too.
the start of every great sentence.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everything that comes after that is always excellent. Just to think about the fact that for years, TV movies were not considered for the Oscars.
Exactly.
And can we draw a distinction between something that's Netflix? Because here's the other thing about Netflix is that they call all their original television shows, they call them TV shows.
yes.
They're not really, if you think about it. They're web series. They're all web series.
Okay,
Which is
But
why
they're long form web series and they're delivered in a very specific way.
like Black Mirror, San Junipero won the Emmy for best TV movie.
Yeah.
So it's like if it's coming through the same delivery system, why is San Junipero a TV movie and not an episode of a television show?
You see,
Why is Beasts of No Nation a movie and not a TV movie? I see
But-
the argument. Am I gonna like get up to bat and be upset about the fact that these movies are being celebrated?
Yeah.
You know, of course not. If you're making good movies, they should be celebrated.
I
He's
am
really
like,
wanna talk.
he's
Chomping
chomping
at the
at the
bit. What is going on?
you know what the difference is that TV movies aren't given $100 million budget. Like Bright should not be held to the same standard
Oh.
as I don't know what a TV movie
Like an
is.
Well, like
HBO
an
movie.
HBO movie. HBO
And there's
movies
still
have
some
some
pretty
big
big budgets. Yeah,
Not a,
we're saying the same thing.
You
I
know,
don't know
yeah.
your point. I don't know your point.
Draw a line
Get
in the
it.
sand.
Man, this is just a ping pong match of
Let's
like.
go.
Damn, we're coming for you, man.
I
But we don't necessarily even like disagree too. It's kind of like
No.
it's like blurring of
But
lines.
like Bright
It's not
is
super
pretty much
clear.
like you could have put Bright in a movie theater. but
Sure.
you couldn't.
And I'm sure a lot of
But
them
why
do.
would
Like,
you?
I think HBO do. Some of them do get nominated.
correct
no?
me if I'm wrong, but you have to have played in a certain amount of theaters to
Exactly.
have Oscar
Yeah.
eligibility.
So that's why some
And-
of them do.
But
Yeah.
that's why a lot of people think it's super cheap on Netflix's part, especially those in like the movie industry, because it's like Netflix most of the time won't even put movies into the theaters, but then sometimes they will, like, oh, we'll put it in for literally like
for-
1 week
for award,
so we can
that's what HBO 's
be
doing too,
eligible.
though.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's basically they're paying the theater fees to be able to be eligible for
Yeah.
the Oscars. It's
And,
a,
like-
it's a discussion move. It's to have
Yeah.
your movie in the conversation.
And Netflix isn't the only ones to do this. Like Amazon does it too, but Amazon will at least have it in there for like a month or 2 months.
No,
Legitimate
no,
theatrical
Amazon, I'm
runs.
pretty sure has like full
Theatrical
theater.
release.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
full
Okay. So
theatrical
there you
runs.
go. So they go all out on that.
Yeah.
which
But
is-
they're also, I think they are making stuff based on quality too. Like Manchester by
Yes.
the Sea is not
yeah.
bright or
They don't have the
Cloverfield
same
Paradox.
kind of like not campaign, but like business model where Netflix is literally just pushing out as much
worst.
original content
Yeah.
as they can. And I mean, it's arguable whether or not they're taking into consideration the quality of it. But like, you look at the critical reception of like a lot of their original movies lately, and it's been
yeah.
dog blank. Yeah.
Dog blank. Okay. To be fair, I think that there's an argument to be made that Steven Spielberg was basically making a comment on the film industry as a whole, as opposed
Yes.
to saying like, Netflix, you suck. Like
Get outta
he
here.
was
Yeah.
like, listen, okay, if big studios continuously bank on the success of blockbusters that they know are going to be successful, then who will, stand up for independent filmmakers? It's
Yeah.
going to be Netflix. So basically what he was saying is, take a chance on a different story, take a chance on original stories. And then that way we can have better movies and Netflix won't
Right.
dominate the market. And also I think that he was saying not like, Netflix shouldn't be nominated or whatever. I think he was saying like, pay your dues.
Yeah.
Like it's not fair that, and I'm not saying I agree or disagree, but it's not fair, like we were talking about before, to be in theaters for 1 week for just so that you could like be eligible
Yeah.
for the Academy Awards. So I don't think that, I think it's being really exaggerated, the conversation that he had with this reporter. But I mean, I don't know how I feel about it. It's weird.
No, I mean, it's super important that you brought that up because this is a really, like, it's not just as black and white
Yeah.
as movie theaters versus Netflix kind of thing. It's like movie business. There's a lot to talk about on this.
Yeah. I think you guys
there's
gotta
a-
see Ready Player One.
It's a categorization problem. It's
Yeah.
TV, it's
Yeah.
movies, it's
That's
web
it.
series, it's episodic anthologies. All these
And I
things are
think-
and that might
blending
even
together. and
lend
it's hard to categorize.
Yeah, and that should lend itself to like the Academy Awards and like the TV Academy, maybe just like sitting down with their
Yeah.
members and like just coming to terms with the fact that the business is changing so much,
Yeah.
and then maybe not necessarily, maybe even just like make new categories that kind of like that
Best
that
streaming
fit
movie?
these. Yeah, exactly. If there is
That
that
could be
much
interesting.
controversy, or at least just like kind of straighten out like what is a movie exactly? Like, I mean, it's
going to
such
getting
a
to the
big,
root of it.
What's
I mean,
a
really,
picture?
it's such a big conversation, but yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, any other notes? Oh, we should say that at the end of the interview, Steven Spielberg was like, "Oh, you know what? But that doesn't mean like I wouldn't work with Netflix or like Amazon in the future.
Oh
But I
my
would
They
definitely
don't wanna work
it would
with
have to be
him
like
after what he said.
specifically made for like this type of,
Of course, he's
format.
keeping one foot in the door.
He can do whatever. Like, he's Steven Spielberg. At this
Yeah.
point, if you came to Netflix and was like, here's a
Yeah,
movie
but he's
idea,
Steven Spielberg in the 2010s.
still
I think the
Oh,
last movie
still
that he
making
made
money,
that
man.
I like really liked was.
Oh, here's a hot take.
Tintin.
Oh, Tintin's great.
Oh,
The
The
Post-
interesting.
The Post was
Tintin.
fine. The Post was
I
a
didn't see it.
fine motion picture.
Yeah, but like
It was a journalism movie. If you've seen a journalism movie before,
I've
was
seen
exact-
Spotlight.
Never have.
Abraham Lincoln. No one liked Lincoln.
Oh yeah, like
Vampire Hunter.
That's a
different
good
movie.
movie.
Oh.
different movie.
I'm glad Steven didn't touch that. Yeah. Okay, so that was crazy interesting conversation. Those were the three biggest stories of the week. But as you know, there's not only three stories that happen in the film world. So there are stories that didn't make the original episode. We're going to talk about those ones. We're back, and this is for a little segment we call the cutting room floor. These are the stories that didn't make the original CineFiles, but we still have to talk about them because they're pretty big.
Do we have to talk about them?
You don't have to do anything, Liam.
Yeah, you
The
can
door
leave.
is there. You
Just
can leave.
Okay, I'm good.
Can we
crop him out.
frame him
Crop
out?
right
Yeah.
here,
Turn
yeah.
off his mic. No, we're joshing. We're joshing.
April Fools.
April Fools.
I'm not
a few
joking.
days early. Yeah. So the first story on the cutting room floor, Damon Lindelof, he created The Leftovers,
And-
also Lost,
Yes.
which is Liam's favorite show of all time. I think
they're both my favorite.
They're both,
shows
right?
of all
Yeah,
time.
yeah. Leftovers
that's
is one of
TV.
my favorite shows. That's TV. We can talk about those. Yeah. So basically, he is teaming up with Blumhouse Productions to create a horror thriller movie called The Hunt. So we're like he's known for, or at least Damon Lindelof is known for kind of like thriller / mystery suspense. What do we think of this team up with this horror giant production company?
I'm interested to see how he transitions back into film, because I think every film project he's worked on has been notoriously crapped on by almost everyone.
Which ones were they? Just for the audience. in case.
Prometheus, I think World War
right.
Z, I think he
Yeah.
worked on.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, there may have been a few others, but I know that people always, he gained a reputation for being not a good writer for a while because of his film projects.
Yeah.
And I guess
because of-
people don't like Lost, but
Yeah, that's another
That's a
reason
different
is
story.
that. But that was a lot of, from what I understand of the story of Lost, was a lot of executive meddling had to do with
no, it was the writers' strike.
Yeah, that affected
too.
it big.
But like they weren't able to agree on an amount of seasons apparently with the network. That was a big thing that happened. Leftovers
That
is
is no, I was gonna say Lost is perfect from beginning to end. There is not a bad episode. There's not a bad season.
I think most people, even people who love Lost, would agree with you.
the last few seasons, dog blank, perhaps.
No, no.
Hot,
No.
Hot dog blank.
Although The Leftovers,
Leftovers
I think
is-
is the best TV show of all time.
It's up there.
Anybody who hasn't seen it, Phoebe, watch it.
It's
I
up
haven't
there.
seen it
Binge
yet.
it.
It's great.
Things that
And
binge
it's
this
easy.
weekend.
3 seasons.
Man.
Can you
Yeah.
give me a quick synopsis?
You'll probably cry your eyes out. That's the synopsis.
Yeah.
Is it sad? I thought it
It
was
is
funny.
very
It
sad.
is
Yeah.
sad on a like a existential like it's just
Exactly.
like
dark comedy
Existential, yeah.
it's not like sad in like the This Is Us kind of way. You're like the dog is dead. It's more just like, oh, why does anything happen?
Yeah.
Well,
Why do
we're
I
not supposed to be
exist?
talking
Yeah.
about TV on this
Exactly.
podcast,
Fair enough.
guys,
So the
just
point
calm
is-
If
down.
we're talking about Damon Lindelof, we
We have to touch upon it. But basically, yeah, the movie is called The Hunt. It's going to be a horror thriller, so that's interesting. I've always kind of thought of Blumhouse as like, yeah, they're like horror giants, but a lot of the movies they previously put out I thought were like not very good. But I mean, they worked with Get Out, so they're on the upswing.
go ahead.
They're on the upswing.
A movie that I really liked that was produced by Blumhouse was the one with Jason Bateman and Joel
Oh, The
Edgerton.
Gift.
The Gift. That
That
movie
one
is really
was
messed
like
up.
an unexpected gem, I think.
Exactly,
I'm really,
yeah.
really not a
Unexpected.
horror fan, so I can't really speak to like Paranormal Activity or anything like that. I saw Get Out and I absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
But this movie, like The Gift, it's freaky. Like it's
Yeah.
so freaky and I loved it so much.
He's
And-
like creepy in that movie.
yeah, and like
Yeah.
Jason Bateman is one of the best actors in my opinion.
Yes.
Ever. He's just so great. Like I just love him.
Interesting.
Yeah. Well, I mean comedic actors, but
He also is like a good dramatic
yeah,
actor.
it
Yeah.
showed off his range in this movie, and I think that they have some hidden gems. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. No, they've got some good movies.
Oh yeah, I'm not
Insidious-
saying they're all
Insidious,
bad,
But
but
they're not known necessarily.
You said they
for-
were all bad.
no, I said previously they had a lot.
They're known
that
for
were bad.
perfecting the business model.
Yes.
of-
Yeah,
Their
that's it.
business model is unrivaled in
Yes.
Hollywood right now.
Yeah.
They just seem to know how to make movies
Money.
for no like an example that Jordan Peele cites is when he wrote the script for Get Out. It took place in this giant mansion. And Blumhouse, when they read the script, they were like, well, we can save a lot of money by just setting this in like a pretty big house. And it's like, yeah, that's actually doesn't
makes
change the
sense.
story very much.
Yeah.
And
Why
we
didn't
just-
I think of that?
But no, seriously, there's just a way that Jason Blum, the owner of Blumhouse, he looks at a script and he just like sees the monetary cuts
Yeah.
that won't affect story, but can get the director's vision on screen for as cheaply as possible. And the other thing that they do that's very interesting is rather than pay their directors a set fee up front, the directors paid a percentage.
I don't know why more
This
movies
is
don't do that.
a thing, really?
Yeah. So depending on how well the movie makes, the
So-
director's salary is dependent on the success of the movie.
So there's
That's
no
a
wiggle
good
room for the
model.
director or like the director's agent to be like,
They
no,
must
this
get a-
needs to be the base.
They
plus
must get a
percentage.
flat. Like if a
definitely-
movie doesn't make enough money, they must get.
They
at
get
least-
something.
Yeah.
They get something. But I mean, that's
Yeah.
the way that they've operated. And I think it's the same deal for some actors and producers. Everyone's basically paid based on the success rate of the movie.
That's a good way to incentivize people to work hard.
Absolutely, and it's a good way of it's a good way of getting
Get money.
People to commit to a vision, because
Yeah.
I don't have to pay you up front to make this movie. You can funnel all the money into the movie, and then if you believe in this vision, then you'll believe that you'll get paid. If you don't, then why are you making this movie?
Yeah,
Right.
that's like one great thing about Blumhouse, I guess, is that they're really pushing original ideas, right? For
They're
the
one
most
of the
part,
most
Yeah.
interesting studios
Yeah.
in Hollywood for my money.
Yeah.
that's no matter how many of their movies are bad. At the very least, they're like
interesting
making
or
original.
yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. So another entry that did make the original show was Adam Sandler. He's in the news. Yeah. I mean,
That sound.
hey, Meyerowitz stories.
Great movie.
He was awesome. It's
Great
like
movie,
a
but
return
not
to
because
form.
of him.
I haven't seen it. Is
But-
it a Netflix
oh,
movie?
He's fine in it.
Interesting.
It's on
He's
Netflix.
fine in it.
Well, then I'll watch it.
Interesting. I think he was quite good in that. Anyways,
performance, but yeah.
So yeah, he was in that. He's also going to be in a new movie for Netflix with Jennifer Aniston called Murder Mystery. But that's not all. That's not all Adam Sandler's up to. He might replace Jonah Hill in the Safdie Brothers new movie, which is titled Uncut Gems. So, I mean, Liam's laughing because there's an inside joke here, but
Okay, thanks, guys.
I almost started ball. Anyways, so that's interesting. I would love to see Adam Sandler work with the Safdie Brothers. That would be wild.
Also, Martin Scorsese producing.
Yes,
This is the most interesting news I've heard all week.
it's
Because I've been waiting for Adam Sandler, other than Meyerowitz stories, to do drama again or
Yes.
anything out there. Since Punch Drunk Love, which is like
One of my favorite movies.
one of the best
Yeah.
Paul Thomas Anderson movies.
and just like the Safdie brothers have such a unique vision for filmmaking too. If you guys listening have seen Good Time, you'll know
Hot
exactly.
off, good time.
Yeah, that amazing movie, so crazy. So it would be just so interesting to see those two work with Adam Sandler. What
They're
do you?
goofballs too. So
Yeah, exactly.
I figure the set being on set would
I
be
was under
great.
the impression that their next movie, it was announced that they're going to be remaking 48 Hours, which I
Yes,
think is
yeah.
super interesting.
That is still happening.
It's
I don't
still
know
happening,
what's
but
coming
I think
first.
yeah, whatever's the order of operations for those guys. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm in for whatever they put out there.
Yeah.
There are people that are not so sold on the Safdie brothers. I think
They are
that's
kind of an
pretty-
acquired taste, I
yeah,
guess.
it's
I
a
don't
very
get it. I feel
particular
like
style.
they're pretty accessible. No, like Good Time. I could show that to I could put that on for like my parents, and they'd be like,
It's
"This is
pretty
good."
dark subject
It's
matter.
yeah.
It's
especially
somewhat-
if you like watch interviews or listen to interviews and you hear all the scenes that were like cut from the movie too, involving a dog. I'm just gonna
fair.
say that much, but if those were to make the final film,
Oh,
like
yeah,
people
yeah.
would be a little bit more like
Yeah.
definitely
Turned
taken
off,
aback.
yeah.
Exactly.
Can't touch
Um,
those dogs, man.
Yeah. But
I love
again,
I love dogs.
Wes Anderson learned that the hard way.
Yeah.
Don't
Hard.
Don't mess with those dogs.
that's right. But in more like a familial fare, I mean, he's probably gonna do this. I guess it's a rom-com kind of like thriller murder mystery with Jennifer Aniston. I mean,
I love it.
Yeah, I'm into it.
that seems like the
They-
typical like, oh, Adam Sandler has X amount of movie contract with Netflix. Here's your
Yeah, but think about it. You log on to Netflix, don't have to pay any money, and you get to see a mediocre Adam Sandler movie for free.
You have to pay some.
It's not for free.
Wow.
But anyway, he
It's
was
not. Yeah,
What?
it's what is it? $7.99 a month. Or
He
is
was
it
in a
more?
movie
For the
with-
$8.99 for the cheapest one.
That's right.
Let's
Yeah.
have our own private conversation.
he was in a movie with Jennifer Aniston called Just Go With It.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've seen it.
That's
That's
true.
a good movie. It's
Yeah, it's a
funny.
movie.
It's really funny. Who's in it?
Nick Swardson.
Yeah, but isn't Matthew Good in it?
Is he?
No.
Did he
Dave
sing?
Matthews. I always mix them
I
up.
know. I mix them up too.
Dave Matthews is in that movie, and
Matthew
he's
Good.
so funny. It's a really, really good movie. I think that they pair really well together. My issue with Adam Sandler playing roles outside of sort of his wheelhouse of comedy is that I cannot get the image of like Billy Madison out of my head.
Oh man, yeah.
And so I just
Why
can't.
would you want to?
I
He's so great
don't,
in
but
that
I mean,
movie.
like, I feel like the reason why I cringe when I hear that he's going to be, like doing something outside of comedy
Yeah.
is I'm sort of like, stick to what you know, like,
Yeah.
except for pickles.
Pickles?
Pickles. Eat all the pickles you want. Yeah.
Pixels, yeah.
Yeah, no,
I
but
don't
I,
know.
I totally agree. When I
Pickles.
think of Adam Sandler, I think of his like goofball comedies too.
Yeah.
But then like I also think like Leah mentioned before of Punch Drunk Love and Meyerowitz stories, and I'm
And
just like
Reign Over
man,
Me, which is also fantastic.
Yeah.
If you guys have seen that.
I'm just like, you have the dramatic ability, man. Just just do more of that.
Yeah.
Recently, in an interview, while he was promoting Phantom Thread, Paul Thomas Anderson was.
I was like,
Adam
Adam
Sandler.
was promoting. No, Paul
not.
Thomas Anderson was promoting Phantom Thread, and he had talked briefly about wanting to work with Adam Sandler again in the future.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's
Which I
nice.
think would be incredible because I like Punch Drunk Glove is just like there's no movie like that.
That is like
Yeah.
It's a
the
singular
one that I go
vision.
back to, I think, the most.
For me, it's Boogie Nights, but yes, it's a very rewatchable
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah. I don't
Boogie
know.
Nights for me as well.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that was the cutting room floor. Just quickly going to mention new releases this week. Liam already saw it, Ready Player One. So
Everyone go
guys,
see it.
make
Support
sure
this movie.
that you see it, or if you want to see it, make sure not to miss it. Especially if it's playing in 70 millimeter.
Yeah.
Go see it in
It's
70
important,
millimeter if it's
yeah.
playing in your city. So with all of that said, guys, thank you so much for listening once again to the CineFiles Extended Cut, and be sure to subscribe to MojoTalks. You can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and I guess for my panel, Justin, Phoebe, Liam, we'll see you guys next time. Thanks so much for listening.
Thank you.
Bye.
Peace. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to our MojoTalks YouTube channel for the full episode of the CineFiles Extended Cut. Link in the description below.